Security, escort this gentleman out, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
Other events that will be taking place in Terrace Park August 11th through August 14th this year. However, after we publicly bid and awarded a construction contract to do the work this summer, there were some concerns raised as the contractor was about to start work on the project. Those concerns came from neighborhood representatives and the Board of Historic Preservation. In light of those concerns, we believe that it's in our best interest to delay the improvement schedule for this year and to re-engage the neighborhood at a later time. A later time would be in 2018 when design of those proposed improvements in two different phases in 2020 and 2021 are scheduled. The other thing that we would do is obviously re-engage the neighborhood like we did in the initial process to make sure that we build consensus on the scope of those improvements. Our reason for waiting is that we have engaged the neighborhood from the start, and we felt like it was only fair to go back to the neighborhood again to reevaluate the proposed improvements to ensure that we built consensus among the neighborhood before moving forward. That engagement process would include the Board of Historic Preservation, the ADA Accessibility Review Board, and the Parks and Recreation Board. As you might imagine, we have incurred some costs associated with bidding and awarding the contract for those improvements. Since some of those project costs include material purchases, we will be able to reuse those materials from the contractor that has already purchased on this project or on future projects. There are also some costs that we will not be able to recoup, such as administrative costs for the contractor that he's already incurred, such as shot drawings, submittals, etc. Certainly would like to thank the neighborhood for their efforts to work with us to develop the master plan that we currently have, and we look forward to being able to construct those master plan improvements in future years as part of our capital program in 2020 and 2021. So with that, we're glad to take any questions you might have.
When was the last time we've seen improvements at Terrace Park?
You know, can't recall a project here recently other than the improvements that we made at the Japanese Gardens. We've done some work there, I don't know if Tori's here or not, but there haven't been any major projects that I'm aware of other than the ones to the Japanese Gardens.
Will there be any work done on the steps to make them safer?
You know, the historic steps, there were no plans to do any changes to the steps. That was one of the things we heard from the State Office of Historic Preservation, is that they really thought that was a priority in preserving the history of those steps. And so there were no plans to change the steps due to their historic nature.
If the money's already been budgeted for this project and you're not going to be using that money, can that money be budgeted for the safety repair of the steps, like the main staircase going down to the Japanese garden that are so bad right now that the stones need to be reset?
Well, the plan would be to revisit the master plan with the neighborhood in 2018, and those dollars that we currently have in our capital improvement program can carry forward and stay in the Terrace Park project. So that's really not a concern, but
safety is.
It is. We have had those steps reviewed by our risk manager, and he's weighed in on those steps. Again, before we move forward with any improvements, we want to engage the neighborhood in this process to make sure that everybody's on board with anything that we do there going forward.
Well, would you be open to meeting with the neighborhood before that? Since this is kind of a process, it's happening, the money has been allocated for this, I think that neighbors would be very open to talking with you now. Why do we have to wait for a few years?
Well, we talked about that. Do you do it now, or do you wait until the money is actually available? We think it'd be better to wait until we get to the point where we're ready to do the project, because things can change between the time that you talk about it and the actual time that you begin to construct it. And so we believe that the 2018 time frame is the best time frame to move forward with that.
How much cost have you incurred? How much is it?
We've incurred approximately $39,000 on the project so far.
How much of that can you get back?
The contractor, we owe the contractor $12,400, and there's about $5,300 worth of materials that we'll be able to get from the contractor that he's purchased for the project, and so we'll be able to reuse that portion of the $12,400. So, but he does have some administrative costs that we do need to pay him.
Are you talking about the landscaper?
The
landscaper?
contractor.
Because I talked with them and they said that their costs were very minimal.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, there isn't, but the number that we have that we owe him is $12,400. Yes?
Yeah, Don, a lot of the people are saying, leave the stones like they are and put a cement walkway from the, or numerous walkways from the top on down. Was that what you guys are thinking maybe?
Well, the master plan does call for an accessible walkway from the south end of the park to the north end of the park, connecting the different features within the park. So that's what the master plan did call for. Other questions?
These improvements, what will this mean to the city?
Well, Terrace Park obviously is a historic park. It's one of the flagship parks that we have in our city. One of the things that we're trying to do is to make sure that we continually upgrade those facilities. And what we're going to have to do is really balance the historic preservation with the handicap accessibility and the functionality of the park. At the end of the day, we want a great Terrace Park. That's what we're really after. That's what we've engaged the neighborhood on. And that's what we're going to continue to work on. We're not going to waver from having a high-quality project that's really going to be great for our community, great for the neighborhood, and all the other folks from out of town that also come to Terrace Park to enjoy it. So that is our goal. We're going to stick to that, and I'm confident we're going to be able to make that happen, and we'll work hand in hand with the neighborhood going forward to make sure we get a good project. Yes, Nancy.
For myself, I can only speak for myself, but I think I speak for a little bit larger group. I think we're fine overall with waiting. We'd rather do it right than rush into it and just have something done for the 100th. So I think that's a great call. Is it not an option to do, is it all or nothing this summer? Is it not an option? We're really only against removing the courts. There's that kind of entrance wall monument piece, there's the centennial marker piece, there's the time capsule piece. Are we not, is there no option to do some of that stuff?
The concern we would have with moving forward with any improvements at this point is that if we get into those meetings again and then we go a different route of what we wanted to do with the master plan, we may end up making those improvements and then maybe they're not set at the right elevation, they're not in the right location, and so we'd rather not have to tear out what we've done because we've gone in a different direction to really try to accommodate the consensus of the neighborhood and the community on what we want to build. So that would be the drawback of doing anything now. And we just feel like it's better to wait. Sometimes time is helpful for everybody as well. So I think we have recommended the best plan and approach to move forward.
Another follow-up, sorry. In the interim between now and 2018, can we not be exploring some, there's as well as there's Deadwood grant money, there's community foundation money, there's a lot of money out there for historic preservation. Sure. And we're in an even stronger position now that the park's on the register. I mean, the park was 100 years old and historic without being on the register, frankly. But now we have that little bit of added cushion, if you will. Yeah, so is there not, in that interim, can we not be doing some of that? I mean, I'm happy to work on it. I think, Diane had mentioned at one point, can we not be doing some of that in the next 3 years, 2 years?
Absolutely. We're always looking for grants and any other assistance that we can do to help facilitate putting more resources towards the project that can offset taxpayer costs. So absolutely.
Is that on the neighbors then? Is that on Park and Rec? Is that a joint? Is that a?
In the past, we've worked with the planning office on submitting those Deadwood grants and securing those dollars. So again, I think it would be a collaborative effort. Other questions? Great questions. Thank you. Well, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Have a great day.
Y'all come back now. Cheers.
What kind of morons run this outfit?